All right. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone here to March the 6th Board of Supervisors meeting. At this time, I'm going to call this meeting to order, and if Mr. Slade would give us the invocation.
Father, we thank you for the love that you show us, and you demonstrated your love first and foremost, Father, through your Son, who you sent, Lord. You sent here, who obediently obeyed you and came here so that we might have a pathway to be made right and be made whole with you again. Father, thank you for that gift. Thank you for the celebration of the season that we embark upon. This season of Easter, Lord, I pray, Father, that our hearts would be in tune with you and that we would be thoughtful and mindful about that sacrifice and that gift as we approach this season. Father, I thank you for these men and the willingness that they have to step up to the plate, Lord, to come before the people of this community and say, we will serve, we will make hard decisions. Sometimes we'll make very, very difficult decisions. And so, Father, I pray that you'll give them wisdom and discernment, that they would have strength of character, and that they would make the right decision in spite of any of the personal consequences. I pray all of this in Jesus' name.
Thank you, Mr. Slade. First on the agenda, we're going to recognize our women's 6A state champions, Brandon High School, and at this time, Mr. Slade, if you would give us a resolution.
Gentlemen, what a privilege it is for us to, well, by the way, this is something that we are doing regularly with this particular group. I don't know if y'all been keeping count, but I think this will be the 4th time that we've had this team before us in 6 years. Back state champions, 6A volleyball, Rankin High School. Ladies, congratulations on an outstanding year. A series of years, a sequence of years. Coach Walker, I asked somebody, what are we doing to make sure we don't lose you to some other school somewhere? Because obviously you've got a powerhouse built right here at Brandon in the volleyball community. And I think this is a wonderful privilege for our community to be able to recognize these ladies on this accomplishment. So I've got a resolution here that I'm going to read. And inside the resolution are the names of each of the players, and I hope that I don't mispronounce any names, and I hope that I've got everybody here listed. So when you hear your name called, I need you to come up and join us up here, and just line up however you feel like you can get lined up right here, and we're going to take some pictures when we get there. So you'll know when to come when you hear something that sounds like your name. Okay? Coach Walker, I'm going to ask you to come on and come forward and be present. And I'd also like for Lane Marler, who is one of the assistant coaches, to come forward, and Olivia Garrett, please come forward. Is Olivia here with us this morning? Okay.
They have benchmarks today.
Okay. So Olivia's not going to be able to be with us today. All right, so I'm going to read this resolution, guys, and then when you hear your name called, come on and come forward. Whereas, well, first, a resolution recognizing and congratulating the Brandon High School volleyball team on winning the 2022 Class 6A state championship, making it back-to-back titles, and their 4th state championship in 6 years. Whereas the Brandon High School volleyball team followed up its 2021 state championship season by winning the 2022 Mississippi High School Athletic Association 6A state championship, defeating Germantown High School in 4 sets during the title match that was held at Mississippi State University. This is the 4th state championship for Brandon High School in the last 6 seasons. And whereas the Bulldogs finished the season with an impressive overall record of 43 wins against 7 losses, losing only 2 sets throughout their playoff run to the title. And I'm going to skip one paragraph, gentlemen, and come back after I get the names. Whereas the Bulldogs are led by head coach Kelsa Walker and assistant coaches Lane Marler and Olivia Garrett, the administration of Brandon High School is to be commended for its outstanding commitment to both academic and athletic success. I'll come back to the academic here in a minute. Whereas the members of the 2022 Brandon High School volleyball team are seniors: Brooke Bankston, Raven Enos, Natalie Griffin, Sonny Shepard, Juniors, Emily Davis, Callie Johnson, Emma Livingston, Taylor Shane Parker, Sophie Warren, sophomores, Cadence Armstrong, Anna Claire Berry, Fisher Ennis, Campbell Harrington, Reagan Jordan, Layla McCollum, and Avery Tyler. Freshman, Ivy Bankston, Aubrey Dale, Anna Claire Ingram, Tristan Ivory, Ella Owens, Hannah Jo Sullivan, Katie Thornton, and Mia Williams. Okay, and we have an 8th grader, Zinda Wyatt. Was Zinda able to be here? There she is, yeah. Excellent. Now I want to go back, guys, and read one paragraph that I skipped over. And this has to do with academics. And as you guys know, we always major and point out and make it a point to be specific about the academic standing of groups like this before us. In fact, when I ask for this information, ladies, just for your information, I always say we want to make a big deal out of noteworthy academic accomplishments. And I say, if the overall team GPA is less than a 3.2, we just won't say anything. I've never had a Rankin County or Pearl School team that did not get recognized for academic accomplishments. And this group is not the first. They will also get recognized. Here's the deal. Whereas the most important statistic compiled by the Bulldogs is the team's combined high school grade point average, which stands at 3.91 out of 4.0. Ladies, congratulations. It is therefore resolved by the Board of Supervisors for Rankin County. We commend and congratulate the members of the Brandon High School volleyball team, the coaching staff, and the administrative leadership for back-to-back state championships and 4 state titles in 6 years. On behalf of the citizens of Rankin County, we extend our heartfelt wishes for continued success on and off the court. Ladies, this is signed by each of the supervisors and also by our Chancellor Clerk, Mr. Swales. And we want to say again how proud we are to recognize the 6A state champions for 2022. And while we're here, let's go ahead and recognize the first 7A state champions in the 2024 season, okay, or 2023 season. Thank you.
Great job, ladies. These ladies know how to do it. They all squat down. Everybody.
Hey, regulars up
I was gonna
here.
say, that's not their first
Yeah,
photo shoot.
exactly.
Thank y'all.
Guys,
Thank y'all.
if
Proud
you
of you.
can, I was gonna ask Coach Walker, I'm putting her on the spot here, but I think you've got some kids that have already committed to play ball, at the next level at college.
I do.
Do you have those off the top of your
I
head?
do.
Can you
I
tell
do.
the guys who's going to school, and let's recognize those ladies who's gonna be playing at the next level?
And I want to share something about Coach Marler. She was on the first state championship team in Brandon High School history.
That's awesome.
And she came back as a first-year coach and won a state championship. So she has a better record in the
I
state
see.
championship. She's
Yes.
2-0.
Strong credentials, yeah,
Senior Brooke Bankston is going to ULM.
okay,
All
yeah.
right. Congratulations.
Sonny Shepherd will be going to the University of Houston. And Emily Davis will be back with us next year, but she's committed to Southern Miss. And just last week, another junior, Emma Livingston, is going to the University of Memphis.
All right.
So, and we're still just getting started on that.
I
Congratulations.
guess it's the first stop for most colleges. Yeah.
Thank y'all so much.
Thank y'all, proud of
Thank
it.
you.
Makes us proud.
Thank y'all, appreciate you coming. That's Scott Shepherd's daughter. That's Scott's daughter. Y'all didn't know that. Scott Shepherd's daughter is the girl that used to play.
Really?
Sonny. Yeah.
Her daddy wasn't mad.
All right, in public comments, do we have anybody from Clark Builders here? No one here to speak. They were invited to come today to speak on the Stone Bridge Development Subdivision area, and apparently they couldn't make it today.
Yeah, if I may, Mr. President, just a little bit of information for all of the board. We received a communication on Friday from Mr. Brent Clark, who I assume is the owner or one of the owners of Clark Builders. It's our understanding, well, it's more than our understanding. We've received requests for building permits, or at least for addresses. I'm not sure about requests for building permits, for 45 lots on which residences will be constructed in the Stonebridge subdivision. This is further to what has been reported to you guys previously, that we finally got a resolution of the litigation impasse that involved the Stonebridge subdivision. You guys will recall that there were bank entities that had secured title and possession to the vast majority of the property out there. There was ultimately a resolution of that litigation that resulted in Mr. Ben Turnage securing title and possession of like 98 of the undeveloped but already platted lots. And he has since sold a good number of those lots that he secured through the resolution settlement, and Mr. Clark apparently is the purchaser of some number of those lots. And those are prepared, those lots have already been platted out. And so we reached out to Mr. Clark in conjunction with the City of Brandon. As you guys know, the City of Brandon provides water and sewer to the Stonebridge subdivision. It's in unincorporated county, but the municipality is providing most of the services, the utility services that are present there. And so we reached out to Brandon and inquired if they had heard anything from Clark Builders or from Mr. Turnage or anyone about the plan for development out there. And so because we had not heard anything, we reached out jointly to Mr. Clark and asked for a meeting. That meeting would involve several of the folks from the county staff and also from the city, and so it was going to take just a little bit of time to get that meeting scheduled and to get it held where we could visit with Mr. Clark about his plans. So that was the reason for the meeting request. Mr. Clark did not appreciate the date that the meeting was scheduled for and made his position felt strongly on Friday that he didn't intend to wait any longer. And so I invited him to come this morning and to speak his piece about his plans with respect to Stonebridge. Is Mr. Clark here?
Can you explain to the board what the concerns are as far as
Yes, sir.
the new covenants that were implemented?
I'll be glad to. So, gentlemen, as you know, one of the things that we look out for is what is the minimum square footage or the square footage of the proposed development activity. And we were looking at that in relation to the houses that are already in place in Stonebridge. As you know, there are well in excess of 100 houses that have been constructed already in Stonebridge. Ms. Hicks, you may be able to remind me, the average the average heated and cooled square footage of the houses?
1670.
1,670. And so the covenants recently were amended and made applicable, as I understand it, to the 98 lots that Mr. Turnage inherited again or secured through the litigation settlement. And so Mr. Turnage amended the covenants as the developer, Green Hills Development, to provide for minimum heated and cooled square footage of 1,300 square feet.
Is this a new phase?
It's actually it's a part of Pebble Creek Phase 1, as I appreciate it. I stand to be corrected on that, but I'm pretty confident that this is the remaining lots of Pebble Creek Phase 1.
Well, he can't do that after there's already been houses built, can he?
Yeah, well, you would think that he would need the signatures of all of the property owners in Pebble Creek Phase 1. I have no idea how those covenants were, how they came to be, Jay, or how they were executed, and that remains to be seen. And it's one of the reasons why we wanted to talk to Mr. Clark, is we want to get a good handle on how did those covenants come to be, and what exactly is your plan? I mean, the man may be planning to build 1,600 plus square foot houses or 1,700 square foot house. We just don't know. That's why we wanted to meet with him and find out what he's thinking. And so apparently Mr. Clark is not here, having told us that he didn't like the meeting date that had been scheduled.
And that's next week, right? The
Yes,
meeting
sir.
date?
I think it's actually was the 14th.
Okay.
I think it was the 14th of March was when we had our meeting day. But he let us know that he's a busy man and he has loans outstanding and may be incurring financial hardships as a result of having to wait. And so I fully expected him to be here, since it's obvious to me he's in a hardship situation and he'd want to have his conversation with you guys. I apparently stand to be corrected about that. And so I would ask, I know that the mayor has favored us with his attendance day. If you've got a minute, I'd like to hear from Mayor Lee concerning the city of Brandon's position on this development, or these, the potential for development plans, or any information that he may have. So Mayor Lee, if you don't mind, come forward and feel free to address the board about this.
Thank you, Mr. Slay.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor.
Butch.
All right.
Never have like
Could you
that.
state your
I'm
full
a hate
name?
BR 549 is my street address. No, but, so I come to stand to support the people that have bought homes in that neighborhood. They bought a home thinking they were gonna maintain property values. I think that's critical. They are our water and sewer customers. You asked a question, Jay, about is it legal to do that? In this situation, and Mr. Slay can allude to this in future meetings, probably in a couple of weeks, I would anticipate Mr. Clark is going to be coming to the city of Brandon on other things going on that are within the corporate limit as opposed to outside the corporate limit. This was in a PID, and this is one of those cases where, as government, you know, we wake up 15 years later after a couple of downturns in the economy, 2008 and 2015, you wake up with this kind of issue or problem that you have some control over, but at the same time that control is problematic. So it's up to the county in this jurisdiction, it's just outside of city limits, to issue those building permits. So it's going to be to your favor to decide what you want to do as to what you will agree with. We are inundated with people coming into Brandon, buying property. Rental property is becoming a problem in Brandon as it is in Pearl and everywhere else across the country. It's not a unique problem. These fine ladies and these fine schools that we have here, Pearl, Northwest, and Brandon, are all going to be 7A schools. People are trying to get to what we have here, and I preach about this all the time, that we have a quality of life, safe communities, and we want to maintain that, and part of that is based on our churches and our schools. So as a consequence, people that are young and have kids are moving here exponentially in droves. My son is actually looking for a house in Brandon. There were only 2 last week in the $200,000 to $270,000 range in Brandon. So, you know, when you hear that it's bad, it's turned sour in the residential market, I wouldn't say that's true at all. I rode through Stonebridge. There were only 2 houses for sale down there. So I think it's imperative that we protect the property values of the people that invested their lives by moving into Stonebridge. I think it's imperative from the city of Brandon that we support you and what you're trying to do all throughout the county, especially on our periphery. And I would welcome any support that you can lend to this effort. And I think you need to have a fairly strong iron hand in protecting existing property values and raising the property values of everyone that lives here.
I agree.
So would appreciate your support and working with that in all the way.
Would you like to introduce your new community development?
I did. I wanted him to see the room and see your faces and meet you. I think the only, come on up here, the only face that you didn't, hand you didn't shake here was Mr. Jay Bishop. This is Sam Hawkins, who is our new community development director.
Oh, nice to meet you, Sam.
I think you need to
Welcome
be getting in
aboard here.
touch and meeting. I wanted him to understand this climate and meet you and see you. We'll introduce him to our board tonight, and we're looking forward to a long-term employee, just like Mr. Hicks over there.
Has Renee and Dwayne met him?
Pardon me?
Renee, have y'all?
No, they haven't met. Look, his first time in town was right now. So, we haven't even filled, I don't even know that he's an employee yet until we fill out the paperwork. So I just knew this was critical.
Better walk the line then.
No. Throwing to the wolves, as Mr. Cross would tell you, that's kind of my forte. Throw people to the wolves, trial by fire, and come out the other end, you're bigger and stronger and understand the lay of the ground. This is an extremely important issue, not only for the county, but for the city, for all cities. And I would appreciate your due diligence in figuring out what the proper and right thing to do is.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
All right, if there's no one else, I don't believe is signed up for public recognition or comments, we're gonna move the old business, I guess, to approve February 15th, March 2nd.
So moved.
Motion made, Mr. Morrison, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Bishop. Any discussion? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Consent agenda.
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion, Mr. Bishop made, second by Mr. Gaines. Any discussion? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. All right, Miss Caroline Gilbert. Good morning.
All right, item A, I have a petition to change 2021 and 2022 personal property and then 2022 real property assessment.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Second by Mr. Morrison. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carried.
Item B, authority to pay registration fees in the amount of $350 for 2 of my staff to attend tax collector 1 class in May in Flowood, and authority to issue a check and pay any travel-related expenses.
Motion approved.
All right,
Second.
Second by Mr. Gaines.
They're gonna be staying at the Sheraton. That was a
Yeah,
joke.
The Sheraton Day Casa.
All right, any discussion? Not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carried.
And item C, I'm just wanting this on the record. What typically happens with tax payments, these are 16th section leaseholds, and there are past year taxes due, but the ownership or the lessee has changed, and the new person leasing is willing to pay the 2022s. We don't typically take current taxes with back taxes paid, so I just want to get it on the record that we're accepting the 2022s before we handle the past.
All right, motion approved.
Second.
Second by Mr. Morrison. Any discussion? Not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion
Thank you.
carried. Thank you, Ms. Gilbert. Anyone here? John Sullivan, tax assessor. I want to give that to you, Mr. Hicks.
Yes, sir. Item A under the tax assessors section is petitions to adjust the 2022 homestead exemption supplemental rules.
So moved.
Second.
All right, motion made, Mr. Morrison, second by Mr. Bishop. Any discussion? Not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All
And-
opposed, like sign. Motion carried.
Item B is the authority to publish homestead exemption public notice deadline in the Rankin County News for the week of March 13th, next week.
So
Motion.
moved.
All right, motion made by Mr. Morrison, I'll second myself. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Mr. Harrison.
I make a motion to approve road work accomplished,
All right,
and road work scheduled.
All
Get that out.
Second by
Can you
Mr.
repeat that,
Gaines.
please?
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Tongue twister. Yeah, whoa, whoa.
All right, second by Mr. Gaines. Any discussion? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. All right,
Item B, the authority to issue a PO, for 3 Bridges, Henderson Road, SA 61-35, Thomasville Road, SA 61-63, and Hickory Ridge, SA 61-002. And this will be actually, our ARPA bridges that we'll be working on. The start of, that's 3 out of 13 we've got scheduled.
okay.
Aren't they part of the,
ARPA,
Arbor?
Yeah, and this will be,
Right.
this is actually tied to some of the small drainage projects we already got the approval to do on, that we're not having to wait on other things.
all right, I'll make a motion to
I
approve.
second.
Second by Mr. Morrison. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. All right,
And just to give y'all a brief thing, paving seems to be on track. We're 11,200 tons on the ground right now with about 60,000. So they seem to be on track of completing the schedule of what they said as long as the weather stays good. Thank you.
And everything's testing out so far?
Mr. Parker, please.
Morning.
Good morning.
We have one item this morning, Mr. President. We would request authority to advertise LSBP Project 616. That's 2 bridges in District 3. One is on Pleasant Street and one is on Kirsch Road.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Second by Mr. Morrison. Any discussion? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carried.
Thank
Mr. Slay. I think all of yours are gonna be set for March 15th, right?
Yes, it looks like A, B, C, D, and E are all March 15 at 9 a.m. These will be settings for various things, conditional use permit requests, variances requests. I would ask for a motion on A, B, C, D, and E.
I'll make a motion to set A, B, C, D, and E, March 15th. Second by Mr. Morrison. Any discussion? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carried.
Item F, Mr. President, is an acknowledgement of receipt of a judgment that has been entered in a tax sale lawsuit that involves the county tax collector, and others. I'm asking that we authorize the Chancery Clerk and/or the tax collector to calculate the amount required to refund, to issue a refund to the tax sale purchaser, also to reissue the tax bill for the 2018 ad valorem, since it was applicable to the wrong party. This is a court order, so we need to do it.
Just make a
Please, I
motion
need a
to
motion, I'm
pass that,
sorry.
huh?
I apologize. Motion to
Second.
do those things.
Motion made by Mr. Gaines, second by Mr. Morrison. Any discussion? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign.
Next item, item G, is authorization for the board president, county administrator, or other appropriate Rankin County Youth Court personnel to execute an MOU between the youth court and Belmont Gardens Clinic to provide youth court client professional services, further to it a grant award. This is another one of our grants to the youth court. If the grant funding is not available, there is no financial obligation on the county.
Motion to accept.
I'll second that motion made by Mr. Gaines. Any discussion? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carried.
This is further to a discussion that we had recently, authorization of the board president to execute an MOU between Rankin County and the city of Brandon to allow the city's use of the Marquette Road Training Facility for purpose of conducting firefighter and emergency response training. So that MOU's been prepared.
Before we take a motion on that,
Yeah.
is that going,
Yeah, so
can anybody in the county use it, volunteer fire departments, or what do we need to do on that?
I'll give you my thoughts on it. One thing is, I don't believe we should put live fire in the building, right? So this would be like a search and rescue smoke type training, no live fire in the structure whatsoever. And then if volunteer departments or other departments in the county want to use it, they would just need to be there with our EOC people, with Brett
To
or
schedule
whoever.
something,
Needs to be scheduled, and one of our people need to be on site as well. So And it's the same situation with the city of Brandon. I've talked to the fire chief over there, and just no live fire in the building.
Right.
The building's not set up for live fire, so, smoke, search patterns, things like that, hose line extensions all day long. But just, we need one of our people there, and then I'm good for any other volunteers using it, just no live fire.
Do we need to change that? I mean,
No,
we
so
can
the
leave it just like it
MOU
is.
actually already has language that prohibits live fire and also requires the city to carry the appropriate liability protections for anybody using the facility. And it also sets up a pathway or a recommendation of scheduling so that our folks know when activity is going to be occurring in the facility and can have personnel present.
Okay, all right. So
I think it covers everything. We've had this conversation, so I think between me and Brett, we remembered what was supposed to, Brett was in here a while ago.
He's right behind.
We okay.
He's behind
He's
words
behind
so
words.
big you can't see
He's
them.
Behind words.
Words
Yeah.
so swollen up that you can't see
Yeah.
behind them. So.
So, I think we got everything that was brought up as a point, that needed to be in the agreement is in there. So it's appropriate for it to be executed now.
Mhm. All right, so I'll make a motion to approve.
Yep.
Second.
All right, second by
Anyone?
Mr.
Daniel.
Cross.
Anyone?
Any further discussion on this matter? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carried.
Just a quick reminder, we've got a group headed to Washington DC. We'll leave out here tomorrow and spend a couple of days in DC meeting with various federal agencies and with our delegation. So I wanted to remind you guys of that. I appreciate Steve being willing to go and Brad being willing to go. And our hope is that we'll come back with good news.
All right, thank you. Mr. Keith Hicks.
All right. Item A is authority to pay an invoice. This is due to an audit conducted by the Workers' Comp Trust, and we owe an additional $54,214. Authority to issue that check.
Motion approved.
Second.
All right, motion made by Mr. Morrison, second by Mr. Cross. Any discussion on this matter? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carried.
Item B is discussion and potential action to adopt a resolution authorizing changes to 3 polling locations. Those 3 locations are going to be the Star voting location. It will move from the Volunteer Fire Station to Star Baptist Church. Fannin Methodist Church will move to First Baptist Church of Fannin. And then our Christ Congregational Church will move to the new Puckett No. 2 Volunteer Fire Station Community Center.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Second by Mr. Gaines. Any discussion on
I
this?
just want to ask one thing. Y'all met with
Yes, sir.
people Star?
Everybody's happy.
I mean, the owners, I guess you said.
Yes, sir. Everybody's happy
Everybody's pleased
and
with
on
it.
board. Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right.
Sure.
Any further discussion on the polling places? All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, like sign. Motion carried.
All right. Item C is authorization to publish, and this is going back to our discussion last week with James Hall. And this is authorization to publish notice of public comment period and notice of public hearing on request for amendment to Rankin County Solid Waste Plan filed by Maintenance System Incorporated. We're going to set the public comment period March 15th through May 1st and have a public hearing on May 1st at 9 a.m. Before we publish next week, we're in the works now of getting written confirmation from the party that he's willing to reimburse the county for all legal expenses. So this is going to be contingent on their agreeing to do so.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Second, Mr. Morrison. Any more discussion? Not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carried.
Okay. All right, item D, discussion potential action to exercise a purchase option on road department rental equipment. We currently have 5 pieces of rental equipment that we've rented over the past 3 to 4 years. We can either let it go back in about 3 months at no cost to the county, finish out paying out. We have all our new equipment in. We're ready to enter into a lease purchase on the new equipment. We can go ahead and exercise, we have a purchase option price, and we can go ahead and purchase the equipment now, and we're guaranteed a premium on the sale of that equipment. Right now, it's in the neighborhood guaranteed of a minimum of $18,000 if we sell it, if we buy it and then sell it, or we can just let it go back at zero. But we're still gonna have to make the remaining payments. So our opinion is we go ahead and pay off the, purchase the equipment, send it to auction, and make at least $20,000 based on what the auction company is guaranteeing us.
They're guaranteeing you that,
Where they're guaranteeing that, and we expect it to go even higher than that.
well, as long as
Guess
they
we were
guarantee
renting,
it.
waiting on some stuff to come in?
No,
Is that
sir,
what we-
no. This was a rental agreement done about 3 years ago, where we just rented the equipment over a 3-year term with a option to purchase it at the end of the rental.
Mike,
I don't
is this-
remember us ever renting
Was this
anything.
some of the big equipment that y'all used
Yeah,
on the
it's-
bridges? and
It's
stuff?
2 305s, 2 307s.
Yeah, I know exactly what that is.
Yeah, but the 307,
I'm sorry, yeah.
That's not the big.
It's our smaller equipment that we use in our daily stuff, replacing culverts and cleaning ditches out. Last time we did it, when Miss Laura was here, we did and we sat down with Craig, we did a lease agreement on this equipment, cause the interest rates was down so low, is the reason we did it that way. So, basically, we got the opportunity to purchase this equipment, send it to auction. Like Keith says, I believe we'll do very well with this equipment, cause it's much needed out in the world, and we got our other equipment sitting on the yard ready
And
to
they
go.
guaranteed us more than what we're,
Yes, sir. We'll make money on this deal. And that's figuring your auction fees and everything, and that's
Yes, sir.
what we and Keith's figured up on this, so. We
sound like a no-brainer.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Second by Mr. Gaines.
Hang on a minute, Michael, ask something.
All right.
Okay.
Mike, go ahead. No,
Any further discussion? Not all in favor, say aye.
It's
All
off,
opposed?
off.
He wanted to say something.
Motion carried.
I noticed you got a new, truck. Have you got, I need, one of the fire departments needs another, they've been looking for some time for a truck, 4-wheel drive,
Like a rescue or something, or?
yeah, I forget just, what it was now.
I
It's
think we're
been
gonna
several
have one,
years.
as soon as I get some other trucks in, Jerry,
Mhm.
I think we're gonna have one coming off.
I wanna see if we can surplus one for one of them.
Okay.
Yeah. I did, like I said, I thought about that one. So
I got a
that new
couple
truck.
others, and we're waiting on them to come in
Okay.
right now.
Well,
Should have
just
them by
gonna
then.
put my name on one of them now.
Okay,
Okay,
but it'll work for what you're trying to do.
yeah, okay, thank you.
All right, additional business to be discussed. Forest Point subdivision.
Yeah, I wanna hit that. We went to an HOA meeting the other day over in Forest Point, and I know I think Tim's gone out maybe and looked at it last week, or Mike's familiar with it, but there's several other places. Forest Point's set up really in a grid format, the way the subdivision's set up, and obviously several issues of speeding and things that come along throughout the Forest Point. So one of the things the HOA had requested was some additional stop signs to be placed that may deter or maybe try to slow down some of the traffic that's coming through there, obviously. Did you have a chance, Tim? I meant to ask you this before. Did you have a chance to go out there and look at that on the front?
Mike and I talked about it, but
Yeah.
I didn't know exactly where, I never got any list of where where they wanted the signs. I'm
Yeah.
assuming it's on Forest Point Drive.
Most of them are on the main drives coming in. You know, like I said, it's gridded out, so you'll come in and run
Right,
east
they
and
all,
west.
they all kind of run into Forest Point Drive, and all of
They
those
do.
roads have stop signs, but Forest Point Drive doesn't.
So where I think this is the grid section where they're coming across.
Right.
Adding some to make them a 4-way stop rather than a 2-way stop. Is kind of what they're asking to do, because you're having, obviously, the speed coming from all different directions. So what I was trying to do was go ahead and get ahead of this on the meeting and allow Tim and Mike to go out and take a look at it and see if these areas deem or warrant a stop sign, and then give them approval to go ahead and place those things in there at the request of that subdivision. So, Slade, do I need a motion for that, to do that, or just direction to have?
So it's some sort of authority for the road department and consulting engineer in their discretion to place the signs as appropriate at these intersections.
Yeah. All right, so that'll be my motion. Do I need to make a motion to add that, since it's already on
yeah.
here? So we'll make a
Yes, sir.
motion to add that to the agenda for
For action purposes, yes, sir.
Harrison and Timmy to go look at those areas to see
Was
if they
there
warrant.
not some history though that you talked about of problem with adding or history
No.
from adding and whatever?
In the past, what we have gotten mostly is, for instance, Hugh Ward Parkway. This one comes immediately to mind. So Hugh Ward is 4 lanes. It is, has a significant traffic load. And so you have a subdivision exit that is exiting onto Hugh Ward. And so the request in that specific instance was to place stop signs to stop 4 lanes of traffic to let 1 or 2 vehicles out of a subdivision. And it related to young teenage female driver, right? And so we denied that request, Jared, because it didn't warrant a traffic control on Hugh Ward under those circumstances.
Yeah,
So-
and to add to that, and to add to that, there on Hugh Ward Boulevard, it wasn't needed because there's 4 on there already.
Yeah.
So there's multiple stop points there,
That's
so we didn't
correct.
want to add that to that
We
spot.
were
so
adding yet
Correct.
another stop sign on Hugh Ward.
Was not needed.
That was just absolutely
I
not
guess.
required or warranted. Inside of a subdivision where you're controlling internal subdivision streets, you've got a lot more discretion about arranging for traffic control. I want to be careful. This is not, we don't use stop signs as speed control devices. That the Uniform Traffic Control Devices Manual says that's a no-no. So we try to avoid that as much as we possibly can. We use them for traffic control, okay? So internal to a subdivision where you've got cross streets like this, it seems to me that it would be appropriate to provide some discretion there on your road manager and on your consulting engineer to use their best judgment for traffic control purposes.
Yep. All right, so I'll make a motion to add that to the agenda.
I'll second that motion. Any discussion? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign.
And then I'll follow that up with a motion to approve to send Timmy and Mike out to take a look at those signs and see if we can place additional stop signs for Forest Point.
All right, I'll second that motion. Any discussion? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carried. And I also have one additional business. Dwayne, can you give us an update on the stuff in Robin Hood on the RV?
Kathy was out there and she looked at it, it is still there. Most of the debris around it is gone, but the camper was still there.
We got a camper that's parked on a public road, and Dwayne's went out and put a notice on the door telling them they need to move it, and it hadn't been moved. And Dwayne spoke with the guy, and the sheriff's department's been out there a time or two, tried to make contact. They hadn't made contact, but Dwayne was able to speak. He's living somewhere else, but storing his stuff on the public right of way, and it's not livable is what we were told.
He indicated he's willing to move it.
He was in the process of going to move it, but, you know, we gave him a hard deadline and he had not moved.
The deadline was March the 2nd. And he was handed the letter, and one was taped onto his door.
So what do we do?
Yeah, so at this point, let's talk about it.
Listen,
This is
I don't
not a
think you-
trailer that's on private property that's in a dilapidated condition, like, that's what we normally have.
Oh, Lord
Like it
mercy.
was a nuisance. This is a trailer that's placed in the public right of way. It's on public property. So what?
Travel trailer?
A
Yes, sir.
pull behind
So-
travel.
So my recommendation, Jay, would be, with board's discretion, you've already made contact, you've already notified the gentleman, you face-to-face gave him a hard deadline, he did not meet the deadline. I think at this point, it would be appropriate, if the board is willing to do so, to allow for either the law enforcement or our community development office to contact the record service, and we will take that travel trailer to a location and report to the gentleman where he can come get it. It needs to be gone from.
Where would we take it?
Well-
That's what's on that.
Impound yards.
I mean,
If the sheriff's willing to allow us to place it on his impound lot on Marquette, that would be a good spot. And that's what I would propose.
Well, the shape of this travel trailer, I'm willing to just tell Harrison to go out there with the grapple debris truck and load it up in the back of
How
it.
you drag it out
For
there?
us, rather, it'll be sitting
I
there
don't know.
a lot forever.
Lord, if that bad, we start come apart on us moving it.
Right.
I don't think so.
I don't think it's gonna be.
I don't think I'm gonna
Probably
tear it
worth
up.
nothing.
What's that?
I don't think it's gonna be pulled down.
Well, you think a rollback can come and winch it up on the back of a rollback?
It had to be a 18-wheeler
The trailer
to
park,
stay
you know.
35
tall.
feet long.
We got tall, wouldn't it?
Yeah, with that, and it's got slide outs on it, and it's full of, I don't know that the slide.
Well, they had to pull it in there. How long's
We
it been there?
We can inquire of the record service as to whether or not they would allow it to be positioned on their yard and
Yeah.
just let them deal with it
I'd
as
prefer that.
abandoned property.
What's your recommendation?
Let them, the record service haul it to their lot.
Oh, yeah.
That way, you know, I think if we ever get it, we're not getting rid of it.
Well, my thing is putting it back in the debris truck and send it to
Yeah,
I like the idea of a
About
private
tearing it
record
down.
service handling that
we
for
might
us.
be buying another trailer then.
Oh, well, I mean, he had a deadline,
Really,
he's been
really
noticed.
prefer, A1 towing or somebody like that
All
take
right.
responsibility for it. But it's just a function of who wants to make the call to get that set up. We potentially will incur some cost associated with the initial hook and all, just FYI. And so we would need to authorize, Brad, I think, the incurring of, a fee associated with that service that's provided, and just give the discretion to community development to contact any appropriate, whoever's on our sheriff's record list is fair game to call and ask if they're willing to take responsibility.
Y'all good with that?
Yes. Yeah, I just don't wanna be responsible for paying the storage fee.
No, we'll make it clear that what we're in for is the
May-
removal.
Yeah.
the removal.
They got a serial number, so they should be able to come back to whoever owned it or.
I think they know.
It might have been stolen.
All right. So I'll make a motion to add this to the agenda.
Second.
And second by Mr. Cross. Any further discussion? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carried. I'll now make a motion to approve.
Second.
Second by Mr. Gaines. So I guess all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. I guess y'all reach out to whoever you need to. I'm getting it hauled with the sheriff's department, record service.
It's been there a minute, hasn't it?
Yeah,
Like a month or so?
a long-
About a year.
about a
Little
year.
over a
A
little
year?
over a year.
Holy cow. Okay.
It's
And I mean, they've cleaned up around it, but I mean, it was like everything he owned was around the outside edge of this thing on public road.
Wow.
All right, any more additional business to be discussed? Does anybody
I've
else
got
have
one item,
anything?
Mr. President,
All right.
very quickly. Barron Threat is a weather service provider, and what we're asking, it's used by EOC for inclement weather and emergency reporting. And the sheriff's department. So we're asking approval of the Barron Threat licensing agreement for a period of 3 years, beginning March 1, at a cost of $900 annually, and approval. Add that to the agenda.
Now, what is this gonna be doing?
It's a weather service provider.
It's an app or?
It's web-based.
It's the web-based radar that we use at our office and the sheriff's department. And this is the one that you looked at before you went on your trip.
Yeah.
Mr. Slade has looked at the contract that we do with it. So if not, we good with it.
All right, all right. I'll make a motion to add this to the agenda.
Second.
Second by Mr. Cross. Any discussion? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Now I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Second by Mr. Cross. Any discussion? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Is there any further discussion?
I got one question. Mike, this made me think of it. How many, storm sirens, well, have we got down?
You've got 42, and right now you've got about 11 that are down.
Okay.
So I'm glad you brought that up. So question of the day, we continuing on the course, or what y'all want me to do with those?
Well, I mean, I know it's been discussed, the amount of money it's gonna cost to keep them up. All the
It's just hard.
internal parts of this is outdated, and to get them up.
It's a It is an absolute budget buster, there's no doubt about it.
And the county's got a
Correct,
app that anybody can download with a cell phone
so.
to get alerts.
Our thing, we've been preaching this, I know since I got here, as your director of your emergency operations center is, we absolutely, are not for this 70-year-old technology. We recommend a weather radio. It's what we recommend everybody, and we obviously point everybody over to the website, to the app that will download them, but, obviously, I'm sure the SO gets hammered every time we do a test, and we do too. As a matter of fact, the last one, lady was absolutely irate to Beth. I was on the phone, on speakerphone, and she wanted to know why did the siren quit? Why did it quit talking? And who was gonna come and notify her when we were invaded by extraterrestrial life forms? I said, say again?
You say you do it?
So I told her I'd come to her house and knock on the door. Let her know.
You may have just told her, ma'am, it appears to us that you probably already have
Have
been.
already been visited. So, honestly, it'll blow your mind. And you're exactly right, Mr. Morrison. Our older citizens here in Rankin County, that is something that they have just had for years and years and years. And it is what it is. They want them, but.
Yeah, I know, and I just asked, cause I know I get a call and we
get 'em
found
all
out
back.
sometimes that they really did go off, they just didn't hear them because,
Right.
you know, and that is a problem with them, certainly, especially in the,
On our bi-monthly test, we do a monthly test, but bi-monthly, the sheriff's department actually puts, with our folks and some fire departments, we put people out on actual sirens.
Right.
Just to see for sure. So we've got an actual, yeah, it actually did go off, so.
it's hard to convince them that.
Some do and some don't, and the majority of the issues are communication problems, which the only folks can fix that is JCOM. If they can reflash those little CPU computers, it'll work for them. It may work when we go out there and do a test, but there's no, it's just shaky.
The controllers are obsolete now.
They are. So,
Right, yeah,
Mike.
it's hard I don't know what to tell them.
I've got three that
Sound like
would
it's
take
not
somewhere in
fixed.
the neighborhood of about 17,000 to fix them. They can't even get the parts for them anyway, so.
Yeah,
Because you gotta have all new control boards. The hardware, the actual siren itself, no problem. The motor that runs that, not a problem. It's all of this circuitry on the inside is where the issue is.
Mike, remind all of us, because I think it bears being reminded pretty consistently, what is the purpose of the outdoor mounted
Sure.
warning siren? What is
As
its
by
purpose?
the actual name of these devices, outdoor, keyword, early warning weather siren, which they were designed to, if you were outdoors and you heard this siren go off, to let you know, a mental cue for you to go somewhere else, preferably inside, and seek better information at that point from a radio or a TV.
Right.
It's made to be outside. That's what those things were for. Now, 40 years ago, obviously homes were built a lot different than they are today.
You can't hear them inside the house.
Absolutely right. Now, if you take a house that was built in 1940 or 1950 or 1960, you probably can if you hadn't done anything to it. But today, I mean, you can't even hardly shut a door in a house now without opening the window up because they're so airtight and so well insulated.
So I still think if we're going to make a change, one, we need to really put the word out, let everyone know, and also I think we need to come up with another solution, like weather radios.
Yes.
And if we're going to do this, we need to budget,
Yes,
come
sir.
up with a way to disperse them.
Right. I think looking in the direction of weather
There was
radio
the
would be
option
best.
years ago, we started to do that.
sure did.
And,
We would want to work through an agency like a FEMA, Jay, to
There ought
qualify.
to be some
for
grants or
funding.
something out
Yes.
there.
There's a grant for like smoke detectors
Yes.
and stuff like that, so I don't know if it's the same
Yeah.
one working there.
We would definitely want to explore, is it possible that the county could end up being, that the responsible agency under a program that allows citizens
Right.
access to a weather radio, whether that be free of charge if they qualify under certain income restrictions, or if it's at a modest cost. But there are programs out there. So I think to Jay's point, if you're gonna spend money,
So how many people would that
you'd be
rank?
better served to try to get the weather radios as opposed
Say
to
75,000
rehabbing ancient equipment.
And they're $20 a pop.
Or-
7 feet.
Good morning, Scott.
Scott Berry, in Fannin, fire chief of the reservoir. I just wanted to address you, there is a smoke detector program that the State Fire Marshal's Office offers. So I would assume there'd be a grant, and you might even consider putting the weather radios with the smoke detectors and have them come to your local fire stations and pick them up, sign them out, that kind of thing. Just information, I want to share that with them.
That's a great idea.
Something we've talked about in the office, and this is not a fix today by any means. And there is nothing in the International Code Council that I'm aware of that you guys use when you do your homes that says anything about no weather radios. There is on smoke detectors. Is there not? Y'all require smoke detectors? I think that's something moving forward, if you so chose to do, that at least in our new construction, and I don't know that there is a such thing as a built-in no weather radio. I have no idea. I don't think requiring one in a box sitting on the counter for these folks to go by and, oh yeah, you got your radio. There's gonna be one radio per builder in Rankin County, and it'll move from house to house to house if it's not a built-in. But something to start somewhere of requiring those once you get a new permit to build a new home. Not only do you have smoke detectors, but you've also are required to have a no weather radio. Now, I'm number one guy against government regulation, don't get me wrong, but.
I like the grant on trying to.
Yeah,
Me too.
if there's one, but I mean, they don't necessarily show, the reason they have it for the smoke detectors, like Scott was mentioning, the fire marshals had that now for about 10 years. The difference is they show a true life safety issue on smoke
Yeah,
detectors.
the state of Mississippi has been for years and years and years, number one in the nation, fire deaths per capita.
So
in the
that's
United
why
States.
you have the smoke detector thing come out there.
We don't have to count the city limits, the folks all in the city, so
it's
it's
not
not 160,000.
What you gonna do?
Yeah,
with
It's
the
only
city center?
75,000.
Huh? So
I don't think
what is that at
it's-
$20 a pop?
I think whatever way we go, we need to let the people know, advertise in the papers that end of this year, we're moving toward a different system. Plan way out so that we get them warmed up to it. And because where I live, the east side of the county is probably the most rural area.
Right.
And they like them. And there's places in that area that does not have very good, reliable internet.
Right.
So it's kind of like this. I just, one shoe is not going to fit all.
Right, I agree. And we got, one of the ones that we've got that's totally down is not repairable. Happens to be, right there at McLaurin School.
Yeah.
I hate that. But it is what it is.
I think if we start warming the people up, they already, I guess, have gotten some.
Everyone that I spoke to is, after you explain to them
Right.
what the cost of replacing it, because everything's outdated on it, and just filling them in on, there is an app that you can get to download that will send you any kind of message, and most phones you can set that up pretty easy.
If you're gonna have an outdoor siren, I can think of a couple of places that you ought to spend some money to have one. McLaurin High School sounds like a good idea. They have outdoor football, softball, baseball, soccer. And so you're gonna have outdoor activities where you would benefit from having some type of outdoor warning device for inclement weather. That makes a lot of sense. And you may wanna think about putting them in, more of your rural areas where you're likely to have outdoor activities ongoing.
And failure of the internet.
Well,
or Wi-Fi.
where you've
Right.
got challenges in
Because
communication in
like
other
Brad's saying,
directions.
you can add it on your phone,
Yeah.
but if you can't get reception, that didn't do.
That's what I was just
Yeah.
going to say. We go blank down
That's
there.
why we need the radio.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
we
that
just go
radio
blank.
does solve that
Yeah.
issue.
Yeah.
Jay's right.
Yeah.
It's a frequency-built device. It picks up on a frequency.
Me
When it's-
down with Mike Harrison, I live. This place, you can almost know your phone's gonna cut off when you go through there. You just say, get ready.
We gotta have some solution.
And the one at McLaurin, short of me going and pulling one up, it's working,
Is out there.
sending it down there. Obviously, I could sit up here and justify all day long of why it was a good idea to pull this out of this location and move to
Yeah,
McLaurin
we
High
don't
School.
want
Until you have a
But
bad
you're the
incident.
guys that will have to deal with the people who lives at the location that now has a hole in the ground that I pulled their siren from.
Yeah, I
So-
don't think you wanna be pulling one up.
So,
think you'd be
There we
able to
go.
put one in.
Everybody good with it?
Yeah. I don't know why you brought that out. I'm gonna pull one up.
Well, that's all I can do.
No, we've had,
Short of
A bond
somewhere in the
note.
neighborhood of about $500,000
yeah.
to redo everything. So,
Anything else in additional business? Is there a need for executive session?
I need,
Hallelujah.
That's 2 times in a row.
Woo, man,
Make a mess.
Wow.
10 o'clock, oh, wow, that's a record.
Do we have a motion
I
to
make a motion
recess?
recess till March 15th.
Motion made, Mr. Gaines, I'll second that motion. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, like sign.
Man,
Just a minute.